Hello, how are you doing? This is my workbench. It's useless. As you can see, it's built out of scrap. That drawer works. That one doesn't. It's really awful. And I shouldn't do this because I think it's going to fall apart. I built this just because I needed a bench. So I thought, I'm going to treat myself to a proper bench. Trouble is, I haven't got any money, so it's going to be built from scrap again. But hopefully, it's a bit better than this. So my workbench upgrade is long overdue. This will be my third workbench, as my wife keeps reminding me. Oh, you're building another one? Yes, I'm building another one. This time out of stronger material. These posts you see I got from my local timber reclamation yard. Yeah, easy to say. And they cost £5 a length. I'm actually only going to use 2, but I got 3 just in case. £5 a length, why wouldn't you? The smaller dimension wood that you see is donated wood. I got it from a friend who was building fencing and whatnot, and they had it left over. They ordered too much. So that is going to be the base of my project. First job though, get the nails out of this reclaimed wood, and they are monsters. Now I really like the size of my current workbench, I like the height of my workbench, I even like the top, which I got out of a skip, because I'm tight. I just wish it didn't wobble, and had some function other than being just a flat surface. With that in mind, I'm cutting these legs to the exact same length as my current legs, but they are over 3 times the thickness, so I'm hoping that alone should provide more stability. Now's probably a good time to mention I'm going to try and keep track of the costs of this project. I'll include the cost of the wood, I'll include nails, glue, and I'll try and keep track of time invested as well. I'll either include that in the end of the video, I haven't decided yet, or I'll throw it in the comments. Now, when I built my other workbenches, I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I still kind of don't. However, I was inspired by watching one of Jesper's videos where he makes a workbench, but he was inspired by DIY for Knuckleheads. So links to them will be in the description. I suggest you check both their channels out. They are awesome. Now, I don't know what I'm doing. I've said this before. So I've watched them, and what I'm doing here is using a profile piece of the wood that is going to be my crossbeam, and I'm making marks on this, and then I've got to kind of cut some wood away, and then the beams will sit on there and glue into there, and it's supposed to be stronger. We'll see. In the Knuckleheads video, he used 2 pieces of offset wood to create this join. Jesper used a handsaw. I thought I'd give the handsaw a go since I've got these big chunky posts. And do you know what? It took ages, but it was quite satisfying. Okay, now I feel like a bit more of a woodworker. Just need to learn to saw straight. I just never do it. What's the point when you got tools? I kind of need to do it now, but you... So I said that you needed to use hand tools, but then I remembered that my miter saw has a trenching feature, which sounds fancy, but it's literally just a screw that stops it going to its full depth. So yes, I did all of the top joins by hand, but these they're like a third of the way up joins for the lower crossbeam, I'm going to do using the trenching feature. And it went so much quicker. So all I'm doing now is marking out the exact height that I want them to be. I need there to be enough room underneath that I can get a brush underneath, broom, America, and then the width of it will literally just be done by laying on that piece of wood across. Oh yeah, like that. Now because the blade of the saw is circular, you have got to put a block of wood behind whatever you're cutting so that the full depth can go across the whole point. Otherwise you end up with like a U-shape groove in your wood instead of a nice straight cut. So all you do is you slice, you shuffle along, you slice, you shuffle along. Then afterwards you come back and clean it out with a chisel, which is actually really easy. Even I can do it. Now watch in amazement as I chisel out this wood and make it look incredible. Also, please note how much that table just wobbles. I can't wait to be rid of it. It really does my head in. That's it. Just hammer. No finesse, just hammer. So after a bit of hammering, I did use some finesse, for my standards anyway. And then look how perfectly this fits. Like an actual real woodworker. I amaze myself.
Did it?
So at this point, I should probably confess, I do realise that I'm not really going into the details of this build. If you want to know exactly how this bench works and how it goes together, then please go check out DIY for Knuckleheads or Jesper's video. They go into a lot more detail. I'm building this from scrap and reclaimed wood, so I can't really give you any measurements because it'll be different for your project based on whatever you can pick up. But here I'm creating those cross beams. These are the smaller ones that are going to go around the bottom. Basically they're going to wrap around the outside of the legs, but obviously inset, and each corner is going to be mitered together. I'm hoping this is going to give me plenty of structure. Trouble is, I'm not blessed with the most amount of garage space, so I decided to try and use my old workbench to dry fit my new workbench. Thing is, I think she figured it out because my old workbench tried to kill me. So I resorted to plan B. I decided to create the longest side, glue it all together, screw it all together, and then join those two sides. I tried to clear some space over on the floor in the garage, and this worked out a lot better. I did not suffer any more injuries. As well as gluing every join, I also screwed straight through those cross beams into the legs themselves. I pre-drilled using a countersunk bit, and then once I'd finished, I actually went to those 45-degree miters and just drilled a screw straight through diagonally. No idea if that's the right thing or professional thing to do, or whether you should use a dowel or something fancy. I'm not fancy, so that's what I did. Seems plenty strong enough though.
Day one, done. Now, this video should be in chapters if I've remembered how to do it. This is the framework. This is the basics for a small workbench. From here you can add whatever you want. You can put the top on and call it a day and it's still going to be fairly sturdy. I plan on boarding some of it out and having some drawers. But just the frame, this is so much stronger than my current workbench. And all it is the frame. To show you how strong it is, now, I probably shouldn't do that. 2 reasons: the glue's not dry yet, and I'm not very strong. Anyway, I'm going to come back in a couple of days, because I've got work tomorrow. I'm going to see if I can add any more to it. It's the weekend, which means I've got time to carry on with my workbench project. So when I picked up those fence posts, I also picked up this stuff. It is super thick ply. It is battered though. Look at the state of this. However, it was £6 a sheet. I don't need this workbench to look pretty. I just need it to be strong as. So I'm going to use this to kind of board out the bottoms and the sides so that I can fix some drawers later on. Anyway, it's really heavy and now I've got to shift it. I'm going to use the old workbench to cut it up, but don't tell her.
So these boards are in a shocking condition, but at £6 a sheet, they served my purpose. They are thick enough that they are going to provide a lot of structural integrity to my build, but first thing I need to do is trim off the edges of everything because they're full of screws and I don't want to risk running into them. So what exactly am I cutting? I'm going to have a sheet of ply that goes across the whole bottom of the workbench that's going to screw straight into the battens that go between the legs and provide some structural integrity there. On top of that, I want this workbench to serve a purpose as well as just being a flat, stable surface. I'm going to use some boards to create a box area for some drawers on a later date. On the other side of the workbench, I plan on having some shelves or cubby holes to store tools, but one of my favourite projects has been that French cleat wall, and the reason I've loved it is because I've added something when I've needed it. At the minute I don't know what I need, so I'm going to leave that part till later. It was at this point I realised I'd made a mistake. Why is the saw not going through? Why is it trying to kick back? Let go of the trigger, you idiot. You'll realise my mistake when you see a little plaster on my workbench later on. Anyway, for now I'm stuck. Once I'd got all my sheets cut to the right dimensions, I wanted to cut out the corners so that it would profile around the legs. Now, I could have been more accurate with my measurements, but this is structural. It's not designed to look pretty, so I just go at it with a jigsaw. These boards are filthy. I've got no idea what they've been used for. They've been kept outside, but they're covered in cement, they're covered in mud, they've got sections that have been chewed out by nails and saws. I've got no idea. So I'll give them a brush off and see what they look like.
Well, it's battered, it's worn, but it was cheap. Will it fit?
After a bit of wriggling, pushing, it does fit. I mean, it's not perfect, but it'll certainly strengthen the project, and it's good enough for my purposes. Oh, yeah, you're so strong. Right, so, time to see if the other pieces fit. Bit of hammering and a few bits of warped wood that needed persuading, and actually it all comes together quite nicely. I guess I've just got to screw it together. Oh no, wait, I got distracted. Time to test the strength again. Oh, yep, and that's it. You're not going to break your neck at all, idiot.
So, that's the premise of it. I know that I should sand it a little bit. Maybe apply a stain. Really don't want to though. Really don't want to. It is, however, strong. Hello! Oh my god. Fine, I'll do it. I'm not doing a good job of it. Stupid sanding. Hate sanding.
By sanding it, I certainly wasn't going to get a smooth finish. This wood is far beyond that ever happening. But it did help to get rid of some of the crud and the cement and all the other nonsense that was on this board. Now I'm using my pocket hole jig, which is awful. I'm not giving you a link because it is truly terrible. I hate it. But I'm going to hold all this together with pocket holes, so I need to put a load of pocket holes in, and then I guess it's time to assemble.
Hello, my old friend. It's time for you to get some new legs. But first, this is going to hurt.
I don't want to show you the death of my old workbench because then you'll see just how awfully it was built. Instead, I'm going to show you the assembly of this not quite as awful workbench. So I put the bottom in and I screw that straight through onto the battens. I countersink some holes, put some screws through. That provides a lot of sturdiness. After that, the other panels are going to go in and they're going to pocket hole either into the base panel on the floor or into the legs themselves. This process was actually smoother than I thought it would be. I did have to use some clamps to hold things in place, but that's purely because I'm working with reclaimed materials. Stuff is bowed and warped and just not quite plumb. So I did have to maybe manipulate some things. However, if you're building this kind of project out of store-bought ply, then you won't have that problem. But I was pleased with the outcome.
Hello. She's done. Is she pretty? No, but she's mine. And she is firm. I am later going to add drawers in this side
but I'll do a separate video on that. As for this side, I've enjoyed my French cleat wall and adding bits to it as I know I need it. And I don't really know what I want to do with this side, so I don't want to rush in. I might even give it a little sand, a little finish, but for now, look how sturdy it is. I could just do a little jig. I mean, I shouldn't, because I haven't really attached the top properly. I'm going to get some little brackets because I'm using this top for now, but I'd like a new one, so I'm not going to glue it and screw it on. I'm just going to get some little brackets to hold it in place. But for now, thank you for watching. You are much appreciated, and I will see you again in the next one. If you don't mind, just hit that little subscribe button down there. Go on. You know you want to. Laters.